It is time for a best of 7 series of top level StarCraft 2. It's time for a Terran versus Protoss, where we find ourselves on the Celestial Enclave. Spawning right here in the upper right, playing in red. We're looking inside of the main base of Maru. Down all the way in the bottom left, playing in blue, we have none other than ShoWTimE. Now, I was very impressed by ShoWTimE in that series that he played against Raynor. So surely he can take on somebody like Maru as well. Right? Look, Raynor is very good at the game. One of the greatest to ever play StarCraft. But in my mind, there are like levels to this sort of thing. And even though Raynor on a good day beats everybody, Maru is just one of the all-time greats. Honestly though, ShoWTimE looked so solid that I wouldn't even be surprised if he, does really well here. So let's find out together. One of the problems, I guess, that you have when you go up against Maru is that Maru also has this aura. Right? Serral has the same thing. Nobody really tries anything weird against Serral. And the same really happens with Maru. Maru is just one of the all-time legends, one of the most successful StarCraft 2 players out there. And it immediately makes players just approach the game a little bit differently. They just sort of assume that the opponent is an absolute god and doesn't make any mistakes at all. Which may just be the case. Who knows? Anyhow, let's see what Maru and ShoWTimE here can do as we're starting off in this first map of the best of 7. It's going to be a quick Reaper opener. I'm assuming a command center on the low ground here momentarily. ShoWTimE is scouting nice and early. The CC, though, can start up. Obviously, the command center can just fly. Doesn't really matter if it's mispositioned, so Maru will have to make the very small flight of shame. Probe will have to go home, though, because he knows that the Reaper is going to be popping out momentarily. Usually about 2 minutes of in-game time is when that Reaper does spawn. Interestingly enough, he's going to scout his own in-base expansion first. There is, of course, this little worker-only path right over here that, players do like to abuse. Maru, though, will not have to deal with any of that, even though he's playing against ShoWTimE, who really doesn't go for any weird shenanigans most of the time. He's still double-checking. Crossing his T's, dotting his I's, and even now checking the right side of the map out as well. And I do wonder what this probe is trying to do. Maybe it's just hiding to go in for a follow-up scout. Could be. Alright, command center on the low ground. Nexus likewise as well on the other side of the map. And there's the Robo facility first. Interesting. So as Protoss, you can choose after the Cybercore, right? Like your next tech or your next path of tech, I suppose, is either the Twilight Council, the most common option in this matchup, the Stargate, I would call that the second most common option, or a Robo facility. Now, where is this going to lead? What exactly is the follow-up going to be right here for ShoWTimE? This is certainly the least common of the, likely tech structures. Most of the time, Blink would be the norm. Twilight Council, though, does start up right now here for the German Protoss, and he's just looking around, making sure that everything is super-duper safe. Little SCV as well on the far upper left, by the way. Maru could use it to hide an expansion over there if he's feeling really brave. Opening up with a Cyclone for now. The little dance over here. Man, did you see that? That Reaper was surrounded by one Adept. Unlucky. Perfect micro there by ShoWTimE. And look at it. Maru indeed does build a proxy expansion. Now this is something that is difficult for Protoss to read. This is not an hallucinated Phoenix opener, so ShoWTimE will not really be able to just fly a bunch of those units around the map. As a matter of fact, he's got very little vision here in general. Like, yeah, he's going to get an observer. He's already got an observer. Maybe he will send one to the upper left-hand corner, but it's unlikely that this will be his main priority. So I quite like this here for Maru, because if you're the Protoss player and you see that Terran is stuck on 2 bases, you expect some sort of aggression. This is the type of build, though, where Maru really doesn't need to be aggressive at all. It's the exact polar opposite. ShoWTimE really needs a third here soon, and he does build one, I think. Ooh, he's thinking about it, okay. He does build one here blindly. This is right after the Observer arrives. You will see the cloaking upgrade for the Banshee. I quite like that, actually. The scan here is just about perfect, too, because this is now going to keep those additional Observers at home. ShoWTimE knows that there's a Cloak Banshee follow-up, more than likely. And this is now going to effectively hide that expansion in the upper left. There is really nothing out on the map right now for, ShoWTimE to scout with. He wants to be safe against a Banshee follow-up, and, well, I guess it's nice for him to have. but I really don't think this is the top priority. Maru doing a really good job so far. Playing his opponent like a fiddle, but still, even though you may be winning the mind games, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're also going to be winning the match. It's still expensive to go for the cloaking upgrade, and the counter here is still nice. No damage done at all with the Banshee. This was only a single Banshee because the second unit out of the starport was a Raven. You don't necessarily need that in this particular situation here. That's the 4th command center starting up. ShoWTimE scouts it and will perceive this as the 3rd. So if ShoWTimE looks at this and thinks, okay, I'm ahead. I have got my base done. I can go ahead and, yeah, move out onto the map right now. I can just go ahead and play this one out as a macro game. He's gonna be in for a very nasty surprise. This expansion in the upper left is easy to kill. There's quite literally nothing to defend it. But ShoWTimE has no telling that that base even exists. The wall off over here on the Celestial Enclave is nice. We have a couple of siege tanks already set up. We're gonna get one as well on the pocket base. Oh no. Maru doing Maru things. And this is exactly why the man is so successful. I feel like Maru especially shines in longer series. Like, he's one of the very best players when it comes to, like, preparing for a best of 5 or a best of 7 or a best of 9. He pretty much will always bring new build orders and new strategies. I think in best of 1s, best of 3s, Maru has a tendency to look a little bit more mortal, I suppose, because maybe you can catch him off guard a couple of times. This is the type of build that he would not play in a best of 3. It just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But in a best of 7, yeah, start it off with a curveball, why not? Alright, Banshee goes in. Not going to be able to really get anything done. Colossus ranged here for ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE is just going to go for a quick 4th Nexus 2. And this is one of those weird games now, actually, where both players just sort of assume we're playing macro. Now, Maru is playing more macro here than ShoWTimE is. So ultimately, his army should be bigger. But there is going to be this weird point, right? As we have a full mech transition, by the way, here for Maru. There is going to be this point where ShoWTimE will realize that, wait a second. Shouldn't you be attacking me by now? Like, shouldn't you have attacked me a minute ago and you still haven't arrived? What in the world are we actually dealing with here? And that is likely going to be the moment that he starts scouting for proxy expansions, but it's already so freaking late. This base has been up for minutes now. So, the follow-up here for Maru is also kind of nuts. There's a reason we never see Terran MECH against, well, Protoss, and it's mostly because of robo-facility builds, because of Immortals. Void Rays are even not a terrible choice, Disruptors are good. But what ShoWTimE is doing here is phenomenal against Terran Bio. Maru is playing the mind game here, and he is doing so brilliantly. Yeah, ShoWTimE is building all the wrong things. Obviously, you're still only one engagement away from things being an absolute disaster for Terran. But Maru is not really known to make a lot of mistakes. And now actually having that Raven here, maybe it was kind of meant for like some harassment earlier on. Maybe to counter a potential Dark Templar opener from Protoss. Now it's going to be kind of nice to keep around as well for like an anti-armor missile. I honestly don't recall the last time though that I've seen a high-profile match of StarCraft 2 where Protoss is unironically fighting against Terran MECH. This is kind of crazy. And I think this is the first time now that ShoWTimE will realize what he's playing against. Okay, well, he does catch his army right over here. Honestly, kind of sick. Anti-armor missile does connect. Here's all of the Hellbats moving forward as well. ShoWTimE does get a ton of siege tanks for his troubles, but now that full economy for Maru has kicked in, and his army is just looking monstrous. Immortal production will immediately fire up. That was probably the worst fight Maru could have ever taken, and look at the supply count. Oh, Maru. Yeah, he's an absolute beast. And you can tell why the man is always up for debate when it comes to greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. His Marine Micro is usually phenomenal. His Macro is S tier. And yet, we decide to go for this right over here. A very tricksy build, one where we try to hide an expansion. Zealots are now still coming out. Maybe ShoWTimE can clean all of this up. But there's so much economy on the back of this for Maru, and Maru is just flooding the map with more and more units. I really don't see how ShoWTimE can ever really navigate this to a playable game. Now we have medevacs, by the way, being produced. It's kind of sick, right? We have full Terran mech. Other than the Hellbats, there's no biological units at all. But we just bring those medevacs here for a little bit of micro and maybe a bit of healing. Still, though, you can see why this unit composition is not very popular most of the time. Even though ShoWTimE is 50 supply behind, he's still able to hold himself just fine. It all comes down to, well, usually the siege tank positioning, but apparently we're not dealing with any of that. We're just gonna go full mech. You know the worst thing right here for ShoWTimE? He still has not even seen the base. He still does not quite understand in this game. Maybe he's been able to put one-on-one together, but he still does not quite realize where all of these units are coming from and how it's possible that Protoss has, been forced to deal with this many units. If the Immortal count is big enough, though, it might honestly be still playable. Zealots are charging, though, and they're constantly hitting some of those freebies, and now the lock-ons are really sweet. Cyclones, of course, did get nerfed in the most recent balance patch. That was specifically for Terran versus Zerg. They were already, even in their accidentally buffed state, they had a bug on them where basically their lock-on was a little bit too powerful, but even when they were bugged, they were still really never played against Protoss. Now they are weaker than they have been in many years, and Maru is still going to dominate with them. GG. Okay. Tourmaline it is. Game number 2 in this best of 7. Maru kind of playing with his foot there in the first game. Like, if you're in Maru's shoes, do you really try to risk it with a proxy base and then playing Terran mech? Like, what's the point? Bear with me here. Do you think he's trying to see if he can play this game for fun? Ugh. Gross. Playing video games for fun? Pathetic behavior. Now, ShoWTimE is going to go for a good old gateway opener this time around with a quick sentry. Hallucinations are really sweet. In the previous game, of course, we had that quick robo facility. It kind of is the opposite of playing this type of build. So this time around, ShoWTimE is going to be able to keep tabs on his opponent. Turns out this time around, he doesn't really need to keep tabs on his opponent. Bit of a classic. We already have a Widowmine burrowed right over here. Maybe he will see the little hole in the ground. Yeah, I think he does. Doing it on purpose here to try and put it on cooldown. Medevac is not yet going to be available, though, so it doesn't really matter. Second barracks on the back of this. Okay. Command center on low ground is going to finish up momentarily. So, very quick second gas here for Maru. It's going to allow him a lot of pressure out early on in the game. Blink also here as the follow-up for ShoWTimE. So, this is a much more normal game. A much more conventional match of Terran versus Protoss. So, let's see who comes out ahead in a game like that. I wonder, though, how much, like, playing against someone like Maru really is a mind game, right? Like, the tone after that previous match has been set. Now, look at this. Did we just box in the Stalker? He almost got it. Dude, he almost just Widowmine surrounded the Stalker there. Did you see what he just tried to attempt? We've never really seen that before. Like, that was remarkably close. If this Widowmine was a little bit closer to the edge here, I think that Stalker would have been dead. Cheeky, cheeky. Medevac drop isn't even going to go for a drop. I mean, other than trying to kill the Stalker, I suppose. Oh, hello. That was a misclick. Maru's still proving to us that he's human. He hasn't quite yet ascended, but one day he will earn his wings and fly away to, I don't know, Terran heaven or something. I don't know how that works. Who knows? Maybe he can tell us. Stalker. Oh, does not see it. Widowmine in the tall grass. The worst type of Pokemon to come across, man. This is like Zubat in the Dark Cave. There's too many of them. Yeah, and as confident as ShoWTimE seemed against Raynor, so far, he is kind of being torn apart. Yeah, I hate to say this, but Maru seems to have beat him in every way so far. Like, not really even that much has happened. That's the weird thing, but Maru is, doing a phenomenal job thus far. Okay. Raven going in around the side. Is this when finally... No. Maybe we can see a little bit of an overextension. Not quite, though. Raven took a bit of a beating, that's fine, but it arrived in that bottom left-hand corner. Now the medevac drop is ready to move in. Okay. ShoWTimE did see Maru also giving him the respect. He's gonna follow this up with a good old Stimpack combat shields timing attack. Although we do not have the +1 infantry upgrade, which is a little bit weird. Normally we will see an engineering bay with this sort of build as well. Not the case. 2 medevacs will be out. Oh, actually only 1. For some reason this one is a little late. I guess we have that second one over here. Wouldn't mind waiting again in the tall grass for a little bit longer. But you know what? To add insult to injury, Maru decides to pull the boys. And this is a major skill check right now here for ShoWTimE. ShoWTimE cannot fumble. Good force fields. Charge is done. That is what he needs. The force fields are excellent. But does he have the numbers to really address all of this? More and more units are going to get warped in. Already 5 SCVs have died. Widowmines try to get into a good spot. Keep in mind that you do not want them to deal friendly fire. But now they're actually in such a position that they are zoning away all of these units. The gateways over here get unpowered. The robo facility likewise also no longer able to produce. That is the majority of the production right there for ShoWTimE, who has a lot of gateways, but currently he's not really able to warp in a lot of units just yet. The resource count is climbing up. Maru, even though I think this fight was going remarkably well right there for our German Protoss at the start, Maru may still have somehow navigated into a position where it's actually viable. More and more units are streaming across the map. Only 30 SCVs remain. Concussive shells here, making it impossible for all of the Stalkers to escape. Now suddenly both players have taken a lot of losses. ShoWTimE needs to get his money down, man. These structures over here on the low ground being unpowered is forcing so much additional bulk to the amount of resources that ShoWTimE has. Maybe he could have pulled the probes a little bit sooner when the SCVs arrived as well to navigate all of this just a little bit better. Ultimately, though, it seems to me that ShoWTimE is gonna be able to defend this. But now he's at an economical deficit. Like, he's got less workers than Maru has. Impossible to know, though. That's the thing here for both of these players. How in the world do you know? Nice little bit of pickup micro here. Nice snipe as well there on that low HP medevac. How in the world do you know how many workers the opponent has? Like, this is absolute chaos. Do we pull the boys a second time around? No. We just keep on aggressively pushing forward. This is where medevacs really shine, though. Medevacs are so powerful in this type of scenario. Maybe the final here was, yeah, something that got targeted earlier. Now the gateway itself is going to be next. Observer is going to connect right there with the Widowmine, and that's not ideal. Oh, nice force field. Good micro there by ShoWTimE. Both players trying to squeeze out some workers yet again. Engineering bay number 1 coming up finally in this match. ShoWTimE shield batteries over here are really helpful. I wouldn't mind seeing a Immortal or something start up there in that robo facility. He needs something against the Marauder count, but he doesn't really know exactly how much time he's gonna have. Okay, he indeed does decide to fire one up. Chrono boost on it too. But Maru is relentless, man. It's a big investment right here for ShoWTimE that might not even spawn in time. +1 infantry attacks coming up. ShoWTimE does have the +1 attack of his own. Nice hold, though, by ShoWTimE here in the end. Question is he going to be able to hold against the follow-up push here as well? The SCV count is looking mighty yet again. All army hotkey Stimpack here by Maru. Force fields yet again in a good spot. Obviously, the other units here, the ones on the other side of the map, they will be able to use that Stimpack for additional movement speed. So he's going to be able to get these troops in here reasonably quickly. And, well, he's got enough energy on those medevacs to just regenerate all of it. Nice hold here by ShoWTimE. Robo Bay on the back it is right now here for the German Protoss. The sentries have been energy recharged for a while already, so more force fields are available yet again, preventing Maru from going through. Oh, we do it again? Maru, you absolute madman. We do an SCV all-in twice? Okay. ShoWTimE, we have to pull the boys ourselves. You cannot fight the boys without the boys. You need splash damage in order to counter this, man, and you don't have any of it right now, and Maru is thinking the same thing. He's like, wait a second, there's no Storm, there's no Colossus, you're probably afraid to make any of that sort of tech. The force fields are good, but the sentries do not have infinite energy. 7 SCVs die yet again, though. We have a bunch of Widow Mines set up. Yet again, we're going to try and see if the Terran can somehow prevent the Protoss from going into their own natural. Now the other gateway goes down. We have that pylon over here sniped too. The robo facility will be gone in just a moment. Nice movement right there as well with the Widow Mines in general. Excellent positioning. The rest of the Protoss army tries to collapse on top of all of this. Reinforcing Terran units are set up in such a way that they can snipe any of the units going around the site. Absolute chaos. Maru has practically no workers remaining in this game. ShoWTimE desperately is trying to stay alive. The force fields now are helping out the Terran more than they are helping the Protoss. The problem here is, though, for ShoWTimE, wait a second, that he doesn't have enough units. Okay, he does get a big warp in over here. The medevacs are nearly out of energy, but he doesn't have that big of an army anymore. Nice movement over here with the Stalkers, though. He gets almost 2 medevacs for his troubles. Observer over here will see exactly what is available right now, but the decision is pretty easy here for ShoWTimE. He cannot let those units go into his base. He did make a robo facility and then a robo bay as well. Unable, though, to get a Colossus out. Liberator here, just like the Widow Mines from earlier, buying a ton of time. Now the probes get pulled, but the natural expansion after the third base is now also gone. Maru picks up, tries to save whatever he can, and boosts on out of there. Medevacs, no, do get targeted down, but all of them will stay alive, it seems. So many low HP Terran units, though. I think you just boost, man. I think you go home, yeah. Don't even bother unloading. Now it is time for ShoWTimE to pull the boys. Oi, 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 what a game. ShoWTimE is on 46 workers, but he only has a single Nexus. The third and the natural expansion got cleaned up. So now it's time for the SCVs to be pulled, I would imagine, too. Yes, we have to be fighting the boys with the boys. Marine Marauder Medevac against all of these leftover straggling units of ShoWTimE. Does the Protoss player have enough? Widowmine connections could be big. The force fields are decent. More and more medevacs are spawning, though, and they are so incredibly helpful. Maru desperately trying to keep all of these units alive. I think ShoWTimE may just be barely stabilizing this, but does he have enough to actually fight against the mules now on the back of this? The medevacs are providing so much value. I don't think he does. Oi, 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 what a game. And this exactly is a tremendous problem here for ShoWTimE. Those mules he cannot fight against. When you are even in workers against the Terran, you're behind. Oh, I got nerd chills. That was crazy. Did Maru just get the job done? That's insane. Maru. An absolute gamer. I mean, there's nothing that ShoWTimE can go home to now. Terran's economy is going to be so much better. GG. Next up, we find ourselves on Winter Madness. Now, I had already put the game in ×8 speed. I figured we'll go to minute number 2. But then I noticed a cheeky SCV moving out, and now it's being followed as well by a second SCV. Maru is an absolute menace. So he's leading this series now 2-0. So what do? We proxy. We proxy. I can't believe he won that previous game. Actually insane, man. Actually ridiculous. 3 worker pools in total in a single game. That match wasn't even that long, was it? That was like a 10-minute match? Okay, maybe it was longer than that. I mean, they never really got very high up the tech road, I guess, right? Like, they never really had a lot of units out in general, but that's because they were fighting the entire way through. Alright, it's a double Rex build with a gas on the back of this too. I would imagine we're gonna add tech labs over here and then start pumping out the Marauders. Good scout here, though, for ShoWTimE, who will see, yep, that there is a gas taken in a moment and that there are no Rexes inside of the main base. There's a big tell right here for ShoWTimE, but what do? It's a 20 supply Cyber Core. He's still gonna go for a Nexus. This is all normal, even though it feels kind of insane. You have to micro this perfectly. He needs to see this. There's the Tech Lab number 1. Marauder will be coming up momentarily, I'm sure. Tech Lab number 2 as well. We are just gonna keep going here for a complete all-in. Well, well, well. Ring around the rosy here for the second gas geyser for just a moment. And at this point, ShoWTimE still hasn't seen it. The problem for ShoWTimE, he's still scouting on the other side of the map. is that he does not know whether or not there could be like a barracks built over here, right? Or over there. Like, there's so many locations that Terrans can build a barracks. Like, this could be a macro build. Even though he hasn't seen the barracks, he knows there's a barracks out there somewhere. And Terrans love building a barracks just in the middle of nowhere just to throw Protoss players off. So as a Protoss here, you kind of have to take a chance. You make you flip a coin and you hope for the best. And in this particular instance, I think ShoWTimE is throwing a rock against somebody that's going paper. That's not flipping a coin. That's rock, paper, scissors. But you get the analogy, I'm sure. He doesn't have a good answer here against those Marauders at all. Concussive Shells is going to finish up momentarily. A Robo facility, though, if obviously ShoWTimE can get any units out, really. That would be awesome. Engineering bay? Okay, sure. Probes are going to get microed against. The Marauders here can, yeah, fight this reasonably nicely. So many losses already for our Protoss. And while one of the Marauders is going to die, he's going to get a Stalker for his troubles. And at this point, there's just not enough remaining. GG. There is no way. We find ourselves on Ruby Rock. I was again ready to fast forward to minute number 2. But Maru is sending out a worker again. Likewise, we have ShoWTimE starting this game off with a very quick probe scout. Man, playing against Maru has to be the freaking worst. Seriously. Ay, ay, ay. You're going up against one of the best macro Terrans in the world. And he just pretty much refuses you. Or he refuses to play you, rather, in a straight-up game. Maru has not played a straight-up game in this series at all. I mean, game number 3, I guess, was the closest we've gotten. But that was a triple worker pool. So, I guess that speaks volumes as to where we are currently at. Ay, ay, ay. And this is one of the things, man. Like, I'm a big Clem fan. Like, when we discuss who the better Terran player is, it's always between Clem and Maru. But I always feel like Maru is another beast. Like, Clem, mechanically, I think is stronger. Micro-wise, macro-wise, in standard games, Clem is the better player in my mind. But Maru is just such a monster when it comes to playing the actual strategy in the real-time strategy game. Well, the original plan was to go for a double Rex proxy, I think, but because of that scout here with the probe, Maru has decided to not really commit to an all-in. Instead, that second SCV built an engineering bay. Speaking of engineering bays, by the way, in the previous game, the reason that Maru built an engineering bay, it's not because he wanted to BM his opponent or whatever, it's because it's the cheapest, highest HP structure that you can build quickly to provide high ground vision. Now, the alternative choice would have been a bunker, but he knew he was never going to finish the structure anyways. So, it's actually better to then make the engineering base so you can actually get the high ground vision there. It kind of feels like bad manners. It is not. Maybe a little bit. Maybe a smidge of bad manners. Good control here so far, though, by ShoWTimE. Yep. Gonna be able to get that Reaper. And eventually here, the Zealot is going to finish up that engineering bay too. What do we have in the upper right? Okay. ShoWTimE fighting fire with fire. Of course, this is match point, by the way, here for Maru. You never want to lose 4-0 against anybody, but definitely not against Maru. So ShoWTimE has decided that what he needs to do right now is, yeah, throw a curveball of his own. Maru, though, did actually make another Reaper, interestingly enough. He made a second Reaper to continue scouting with. He did have an SCV scouting the right side of the map. He had that a Reaper now at the bottom of the map. He did not quite go far enough to scout what I think is going to be a Dark Shrine. Okay. Now, here's what happened, though, in this series, right? If we zoom out, big picture, ShoWTimE started off like a gentleman. He wanted to play conventional Protoss versus Terran. He wanted to play macro games. Now we are at match point here for Maru. And ShoWTimE has been forced to apparently wrestle in the mud with Maru. Like, this is disgusting. I mean, I love it, but it's gross. This is the Maru effect. I can really only ever think of, like, Hero and Dark that have a similar aura as well in that regard. Always forcing the opponents to play weird stuff. Maru doesn't know, though, about the Dark Shrine, but he is making a Banshee right now. He is getting Cloak. Remember in the first game? Ooh, nice pathing here. Excellent SimCity by ShoWTimE. He went for Terran MECH on the back of this, but he also did go for one Banshee with Cloak and then into a Raven. Very important here to get some form of detection done. Obviously, he's going to have a second Cybercore here, or Cybercore, a second CC, a second command center. So obviously he can get energy, but usually with 2 command centers, you do just drop the mules. Third CC on the back of this as well, though. He needs to save up at least a little bit. Well, let's see. Here go the invisible men. They're very close to each other. This is like the duo bobsled of the Olympics that I watched a little bit of. I don't... What's it called again? The double luge? I don't know. Anyways, the Dark Templar, they would be great at it, is all I'm trying to say. He is going to be able to snipe the first one. It kind of looked like... Kind of looked like the lock-on there was just barely not good enough. Now, indeed, we're going to immediately see a Raven. The low ground is going to get denied for a bit. But I think this is fine here for Maru. And I think this is Maru right now with a cheeky little smile on his face. Like, he knows he's dragged his opponent down to his level. Which really feels out of character for ShoWTimE especially. Not that this game is a significant advantage or whatever here for the Terran player. But this is now out of ShoWTimE's real comfort zone. So Maru can just continue playing whatever he likes. Okay. Now what does he like to do? Are we gonna go for a normal follow-up? Yeah, looks like it. Triple Rex. Triple CC. What's really sweet, though, here for Maru is that he's had that third base done for such a long time already. So we end up with a very similar scenario as what we had on the Celestial Enclave. So that was game number 1 in this series. We end up with a very similar spot where... even though this has been kind of weird, and even though the early game has been all over the place, right? Maru ends up with more economy than the Protoss, and that is not how this matchup is normally played. In a conventional game of Protoss versus Terran, Protoss is the one that gets a faster expansion every time than the Terran. Now this is nice. Intercepting the Cyclones on their way home is sweet. Blink did finish up in that Cybercore, everything is Cybercore today, in the Twilight Council, before the pylon there ended up getting sniped. So he does get 2 Cyclones for his troubles, and it may just allow him here to continue pushing. We're on 4 gates. 1 Zealot here to scout. Yeah, it's a bit too much. You don't really know if there's like a second siege tank up on the high ground too. Banshee is going to be routed towards the upper right-hand corner to continue a little bit of damage there. Probably wants to go after the gateway. Sniping the gateway is nice. Sniping the Dark Shrine also, likewise, really sweet. Still though, kind of feels like this is ShoWTimE for the first time in this best of 7. Allowed to be aggressive, right? I guess this is kind of the first time that he does kind of anything. Yeah. Oh, we're actually going to go after the shrine. Fair enough. Robo Bay inside of the main base here. Charge coming up as well. Has ShoWTimE seen the third? He hasn't. This one's been up for minutes. It has already dropped multiple mules, and you can see that reflected right now in the supply count. At this phase in the game, normally it's Protoss who has more supply than Terran does. And this can lead to very significant misreads, though, here for Protoss. Like, you're fine here as Protoss, but you can't just go for your normal attacks. No detection available here, so yeah, the Banshee. It's a slow job, but it's honest work, and somebody has to do it. It is going to be able to kill the Dark Shrine here. No more Templar for ShoWTimE for now. We'll probably see a Templar Archives, though, later on in the game if he gets to that point. For now, though, the splash damage will come out of the Colossus. 4th Nexus does get fired up as well. We've got ourselves the armory building here for our Terran player, so he can go into 2-2. A little bit of a mistiming there. Probably needed to do this a little sooner. Maybe a half minute or so would have been good. Then again, this is a powerful timing attack now. We have a lot of Terran army. Charge is done. Colossus, there's maybe 1? Yeah, there's 1 of them available at this point. Scan will reveal it. He wants to go for the anti-armor missile. He does get the anti-armor missile, but likewise it also connects with a couple of friendlies. Another anti-armor missile this time around on the biggest target of them all, and that is going to force this Protoss army to retreat. And a forced cancel as well on that 4th Nexus. Maru is smelling blood, but I wonder if you shouldn't just build up another CC here instead. He wants to go for the win right here, right now, though. Those siege tanks are in a really good spot. 2-2 fired up here for Maru, though, so he knows that there is a follow-up plan. A couple of units here on the other side of the map. That's the Dark Templar that were still left over. Another anti-armor missile on the Colossus. Okay, here we go. There is a Guardian shield set up, so that means that the Zealots can actually charge through and protect themselves reasonably well. Colossus are gonna get their ranged upgrade as well in about 5 seconds from now. Okay, ShoWTimE cleans it up. ShoWTimE cleans it up. He breaks out of the position, and he's actually okay here. Still, though, he cannot really counter this too far. And in order to combat this, he did stop producing upgrades himself. Okay, yeah, he knows that he needs to fire them back up. And as soon as he's stable, that's exactly what he does. Previously, though, he had a nice little advantage as far as those upgrades go. And now it is Maru who grabs that lead. Since he now has solid 3-base economy, Maru is also making a transition towards the Ghost Academy here. 4th Nexus fires back up. There's the 4th Command Center, together with a 2nd starport. Okay. Yeah, we're actually leading to a macro game. Believe it or not. We're 10 minutes in, and not a single group of workers has gone across the map. Can you believe it? Nice force fields over here as well for ShoWTimE. I don't think ShoWTimE could really push here, but he's just trying to get some freebies. Gets a Viking there. That's nice. Couple of units as well. Supply depot or 2. Not too bad. Trying to roast whatever he can roast. In the meantime, we have another Nexus building up north as well. So while ShoWTimE here is trying to pretend like he is going for some sort of big push, he's not really planning on committing at all. Okay. Yeah. He is just trying to play the macro game. Wouldn't mind seeing a probe going up north again in the upper right-hand corner to plant down a pylon here. Always nice to reactivate it and maybe get a point of, well, warping in. 4th CC, though, is done here for Maru, and he's got a nice timing attack here lined up. 2-2 is done. Do we try and go for an attack yet again? It's scary, though. Ghost production is a little late this game. I think he's right in not doing so. He's just going to try and use those upgrades to now set up the 4th base. In the meantime, Templar Archives. Robotics Bay is going to go for the Gravitic Drive Research. That is the Prism Speed upgrade. And we have, well, 2-2 about to be done here for, or actually, no, just +2 attacks here, just about to be done right here for ShoWTimE, who's going to try and break through. Maru, though, is going pretty deep. Is there enough for Maru to actually just shut this down? He, again, uses a lot of the SCVs, and surely he does have enough. Man, ShoWTimE overstaying is welcome. In the meantime, though, we did have the Zealots going to town in the main base. That was only part of the Protoss army. Good bit of damage done as well. All of this, though, can be traced back to Maru getting a greedy 3rd Command Center early on. Like the Proxy Rex, the Engineering Bay block, a greedy 3rd Command Center early on. It is just what Maru is building this entire game off of. Like, it's really leveraged him to go into this type of economy now and to just have the supply advantage the entire way through. Like, ShoWTimE is normally known as the Mauer, he's usually known as the Wall, but it feels like he's playing against the Wall. He's punching, but Maru seems to be able to swing back all the time. Gravitic Drive is nice, though. Maybe this can drag some of the Terran units back home. Doesn't seem to be the case. Nope, Maru just commits to the counter-attack, and he will be able to take care of that 5th Nexus easy peasy. Now we're playing 4-base versus 4-base. Prism is not here anymore, okay? It's hiding over to the left. Vikings could not quite clear it. But Maru will be more than happy to play 4-base versus 4-base. The only thing he doesn't have going for him is the upgrade in the 2nd NG Bay. I'm assuming. Yep, there we go. Bam. Man, he's so quick. Like, I have perfect vision of the production tab and everything that's going on, right? Maru does not have that luxury, and he still is very sharp. ShoWTimE, though, is going to have multiple sources of splash damage now. He's got the Archons, he's got the Colossi, and he's got the Disruptors. He could add on some Stormy Boys as well, some High Templar. But I don't really know if he's got the time for it, and considering the ghost numbers, I don't think he's gonna try it. This Nexus is gonna get sniped again. Bottom left-hand Nexus also coming up right now for Maru, or for ShoWTimE rather, but Maru is likely going to try and shut that down as well momentarily. Oh, beautiful series here, it has to be said. Yeah, Maru really is the star of this show, though. Maybe ShoWTimE's name is ShoWTimE, but it's Maru who gets to decide what is actually happening on the stage. We did, by the way, see a pylon go up in the upper right, so that's sweet. At least maybe another Zealot run by location would be nice. Look at Maru. He doesn't even really have to know about this base. He knows that it's up, right? He did scan already in that direction, but there's really only one choice. ShoWTimE going up the ramp? I don't know, man. EMP here onto the Zealots would be sweet. Still, I guess this is about the best case scenario, but immediately a concave gets set up right here for Maru. Purification Nova tries to fly forward, but a preemptive cancel on that Nexus. We are playing 4 base versus 4 base because that's what Maru wants. Soon though, Maru's gonna go up to 6 command centers. Actually, make it 7. He's once more a step ahead of the opponent. ShoWTimE will try to take this base. He's once more double expanding. Double expanding, though, as Protoss feels so risky in this location and in this situation. You're basically just at the mercy here of Terran, trying to give you the base. What we have instead, though, is Maru now coming in from multiple angles. The splitties on the right side are good enough. What about the fight over here on the left? We have another Nova breaking through. The Disruptor there does not get sniped in time, but Maru decides to just break through it all. We have those Vikings up in the air going after the Colossi. The Prism will likely be next as well. Is there enough for Maru to actually break through it right now? Doesn't seem to be the case. He picks up with another Nova joining in. An expensive set of losses for both players. I don't really mind it all too much for ShoWTimE. We may be able to counterattack right now. Maru probably thought he could just brute force his way up the ramp. Not quite the case. Siege takes from the early game, actually, now finally back in full swing. Next step, though, in the master plan is Liberators, a unit we haven't really seen yet in this series. Well, we've seen a handful of them. Tactical Nuke also added into the mix. Advanced Ballistics is a banger upgrade. Planetary Fortress, though, at the 6 o'clock position. There is still time for ShoWTimE to strike. He's going to be able to get rid of one of those tanks. Command center here at the bottom is indeed going to get sniped. SCVs need to retreat. In the meantime, there's a counterattack up north. Probes are already leaving this location, but it's because the base now in the bottom left is up, and that's where those probes are headed, it seems, judging by the number above that Nexus. Another base is fired up here for ShoWTimE, who really tries to get ahead. Counterattack in the meantime. Zealots and Stalkers breaking through. Liberator count is still low enough for the Stalkers to actually just combat this straight up. Many SCVs are dying. Purification Nova is also available here for ShoWTimE, so yeah, you could just try and use it. Maybe get a couple of those Marines. Not a bad idea. 27 of those SCVs go down. In the meantime, a Nexus here to the counterattack of Maru. ShoWTimE now with an 80 worker count versus 49 probes. Navigating this brilliantly, it has to be said. Force field over here for that pesky little Zealot. Once more a force field that seems to benefit. Oh, it seems to benefit the Terran more than the Protoss. We have, though, the Terran setting up shop right over here on the high ground as a tactical nuke is being flown down. He is nuking this Protoss player from the inside out. Is there enough, though? Yeah, I mean, ShoWTimE apparently felt compelled to go up towards the high ground, but was that actually the right call? He needed to go if he wanted to go before the nuke landed. Okay, ultimately, it seems like he is going to be able to deflect this. Stalkers will blink after it. They're sniping down as many of those Medefex as he possibly can on his way out. Here's Maru's reinforcements, though, showing up. He's got so much production here. So many command centers in general. Another Purification Nova does get dodged. Liberator numbers are still growing. That's the Disruptor getting sniped. And ShoWTimE's army feels to me like it is fizzling out. Maru gets the job done. A 4-0 victory. Now, I would say that this final game is the closest that ShoWTimE ever got in this particular series. But man, Maru is just such a menace. GG.